Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. And as you guys can see, there's a lot of stuff on my table today. So try guessing what my video is going to be about today. You all know I'm a scout, so of course I had to make a video on what you should pack for a camping trip and why people usually avoid going camping and why they're usually scared of going in the outdoors. So many people avoid camping, and the reason why they do this is because they're scared of the unknown, being comfortable, sleeping on the ground, well, some people don't like being in nature, insects, bugs, all of that. But after today's video, you might even change your mind and go camping. The secret to overcoming this avoidance is to having the proper preparation and things to do. When you think about going camping, you think about getting a bunch of gear, buying a bunch of stuff, but that's not the reality. Of course, you have to buy some things beforehand, but a lot of the things you can find in your house, and you don't have to go so above and beyond. So, today I'm going to be talking about the basic gear that you might pack if you go solo camping, with your troop if you're a part of scouts, or even if you want to take your family camping. The first thing I wanted to talk about is before you even leave the house, your camping experience starts. You should have it all planned out before you start, so make a list of all of the gear you need. If you're going with 4 people, make a list of the things all those 4 people might need, and before you leave the campsite, just make sure you have all of it so you don't leave anything behind. You can keep changing that plan as more people come in or people leave. Now, if you're going family camping, you should have all the essentials. This also includes knowing where your campsite is, having a map in case of emergencies, and tracking the weather to pack accordingly. Your equipment varies based on the season, and hot and cold weather has various different things that you might need that you might not need in the other season. But before I start, I would like to introduce the 10 essentials that not only scouts need, but everybody needs it, whether you're a family camper, solo camper, backpacker, or a scout. The first essential is navigation, a map and a compass. If when you're going camping, you should search online. If it's a national park, you might have a map of your campsite, or you can even draw it out. Go on Google Maps, find it, and draw the nearest emergency center, where the ranger is if there's one, the bathrooms, your campsite, all of that. And this compass is really helpful because not only does it help you navigate your way when you're lost, but it helps you orient your map when you have to go to different places, especially when it's a big map. You're gonna need a compass. The next essential is headlamp or a flashlight. I don't have my headlamp right now, but I do have this very handy dandy lantern that I bring to almost every single one of my camping trips. And it wasn't that expensive, and you can open it and it has a bright light. It's also solo powered, and on the bottom, as you can see, it has a fan for hot trips. This is one of the most useful items, I would say, when I go camping, because it requires very less charge, and even if I do have to charge it, it charges very fast. If I don't have a charger, I can always put it in the sun and it charges approximately in 2 hours. The next essential I wanted to talk about is sunscreen and bug repellent. When you go camping, there's of course going to be a lot of sun, you're in the outdoors, and you don't want to come back tan the next day. So, to protect yourself from those UV rays and the sun, you would need sunscreen, maybe a hat, sunglasses, and also bug repellent. Of course, you're in the nature, you're going to find insects, and if you don't want them on you, you're going to need repellent. The next essential is a first aid kit. A first aid kit doesn't have to be so fancy and big. It can be something as small as this, with the essentials such as information for first responders, a bandage, stuff like that. But if you're going with a big family, you might need to accommodate and put more things in your first aid kit. The same applies for the rest of your things. As more people come on the trip, you might need more things such as more lights, more compasses, more maps, so everybody knows what to do in case of emergency. And it's not just one person who's prepared. You should all be prepared. The next thing I wanted to talk about was knife and gear repair. This is my Swiss Army knife, and as you can see, it has multiple blades. It's very efficient, and I use it very often. Whether it's for important things like cutting something open, cutting a log for my tent, or a missing part, or it can even be something for fun like whittling or wood carving or making something in my free time. In the woods, you should have fun, and another a way that you can pass the time in the woods is maybe making something for yourself or maybe just for fun, like art out of wood. The next thing I wanted to talk about was fire starting tools. Here I have two methods. I have first have this. which is flint and steel, which is a little bit harder. And then I have these matches that are protected in a casing. These matches are waterproof, so even if they get water on them, they won't die out or they won't work. They work all the time. And I haven't opened this pack yet, so let's hope it works. And my flint and steel is works pretty well, and this can be used almost anywhere, even in the wet. So you can just scrape it and it makes sparks. But the thing is, you do need proper firewood for this, and you should know how to make a fire. The sparks won't catch on a normal log, and you can't just make a big fire out of it. Now on to the next part, which is shelter. When you go in the woods, you can't just sleep on the floor unless you're a very extreme camper. You need a tent and a tarp. So that's why I would recommend bringing a tarp and a tent. If you're going by yourself, you might need a tent like this. This tent is pretty small and it fits about 4 people. And of course, there are bigger tents out there, but this is one of the most basic ones. If you're going with a family, you might need more tents or maybe a bigger tent. And this is something that you might need to buy. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was extra food. Of course, you're gonna bring things in your cooler, drinks. You never know, you might run out, or a raccoon might steal them, or they might spoil. So it's always important to bring more food, whether it's instant noodles or something you cooked and put in a Ziploc last minute. It always helps. But don't forget about it. You don't want to leave it to rot. The next thing I wanted to talk about was extra water and your water bottle. As you can see here, I have my water bottle and it's pretty big. It's about 32 OZs, and it fits a lot of water, and this could probably last me for half of the day. That's why I would say it's very, very important to have water to drink. Water is one of the most essential things when you go in the outdoors, and you need it to stay active. When you're going with a large group, you might need to bring a cooler with lots of ice in it so it melts by the time you go to the campsite and you can enjoy the cool water. If you're going in hot weather, you might have to bring a thermos or something to keep hot water in it. The next thing I wanted to bring up, and the last thing, is extra clothes. Of course, you're gonna pack lots of clothes, but in case the weather turns out bad, or they all get wet or ripped or something like that, you're gonna need extra clothes. It's better to be safe than sorry, so always bring extras of everything, but not too much that you overpack. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was storage and proper care of your equipment. You can't have everything in perfect condition every camping trip unless you don't take good care of it. After you're done with your trip, you should always take care of your tent and your tarp first. Take your tarp and spray it with the hose and get it clean. Wash it with soap and do all of it and let it dry in the sun. You should let it dry so no mold or fungus grows on it. Then do the same thing with your tent. Unroll it, unzip all the zippers, open the windows, remove everything, take a sweep, take a brush and a broom and just brush everything out of the tent, clean it all up. Sometimes you could even put a hose inside of it and hose it all down, get it completely clean, maybe even put soap on it, and then let it dry in the sun. Of course, you don't have to do this with your tent all the time because it can also damage and wear the material, but every trip you should at least wash it down and put it in the sun to dry. The same applies for all your material. Take it all out, look through it, make sure nothing's missing. And if it's missing, go through it, replace it, then put it back. You should let your things sit out in the sun a little bit so it dries a little bit. Maybe if it was a little bit humid there, it'll get a little bit cool so that your material stays up to date. Also remember to wash your mess kit and whatever you bring. When you bring a water bottle, wash it off nicely, the cooler, any food you brought. I also wanted to talk about health and safety concerns. When you go on a trip and you have a cooler with a bunch of food in it, please make sure that you don't mix any dairy products, meat products, or vegetable products together because it might cause cross contamination. Keep all those things away, layer it. You can put a layer of ice on top of each layer and put the thing on top of that. And make sure to wash everything. You don't want to go to a camping trip and find out every one of your equipment's dirty. And I also missed this point, but I wanted to bring up, if you're a scout and you're going on a camping trip, you need a mess kit. If you're going on a long camping trip, like let's say summer camp or anything more than 3 or 4 days, you don't need to bring a mess kit, but in case you're going on a shorter camping trip, you'll probably need a mess kit. Either way, whenever you go camping, it's best to have a mess kit because you never know how things might turn out. Maybe your troops making hot cocoa or tea. You might need your mug for that. I'd recommend always bringing your mess kit, but it's also important to keep it clean. In Scouts, we have a thing called wash bins, where we take three bins. Each one is labeled differently. One of them is rinse, one of them is sanitize, and one of them is rinse, one of them is scrub, and one of them is sanitize. Where you first rinse off any food particles, then you scrub it with soap, then you put it in a mixture of bleach and water, Clorox and water. I'm not sure what it is, and you let it sanitize and you let it dry. I would also highly recommend this on family camping trips because not only does it keep your equipment clean, but it gives everybody a way of seeing how things are kept properly. So even if you're bringing kids, they might also learn how to do it. And yeah, that's a good way to do it. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the layering system. When you wear clothes on a hike or on a camping trip, you want to layer accordingly. You shouldn't just go in a t-shirt and shorts on a cold trip, take a hike, then when you feel cold put on more clothes. You should put on a bunch of clothes and so that you stay at a normal temperature, then as you start sweating, you should start taking them off slowly. This helps regulate your body temperature so you don't fall into shock or hypothermia all of a sudden. You should always store gear properly too. You should store all of your gear in a cool, damp environment. For example, I keep all my stuff in my basement. Another thing I wanted to talk about was clothing. When you go on a trip, you should pack accordingly. So if you go on a winter trip, you should pack more heavy clothing, more warm clothes and stuff like that. Then you should also make sure that you have enough food, right food for the weather. If you're going on a hot trip, pack more vegetables, pack a stove, pack some propane so you can heat it up. Uh, if you're going on a hot trip, then you might need to pack a fan, some ice, a cooler, things like that to keep yourself cool. And along with clothing comes your body temperature. If you don't think you can regulate your body temperature towards with clothes and you want to get warmer faster or colder faster, I would recommend bringing a fan like this or hand warmers. They warm you up really fast and it's a really easy way to do it. Also, the next thing I want to talk about is camp comfort. Of course, you go on camping trips to relax and not do all this, so you're going to need some comfort. So that's why I would recommend bringing some fun games like playing cards, a board game, a camp chair, a camera, things like that to keep yourself occupied and make the memory last. This also goes under entertainment. You can pack a bunch of games, but make sure you don't sacrifice any of your important equipment and wait for that. Now, when it goes to sleeping bag gear, I would recommend for winter trips, pack something like a winter sleeping bag. As you can see, this sleeping bag is pretty bulky, and this sleeping bag keeps me cold. It's rated for the winter, and it's pretty thick, and it's a mummy sleeping bag, so it snuggles my feet so they stay warm, and it's a little bit loose around my shoulder area, so over there I can fit. However, summer sleeping bags are a little bit different. Their materials are a little bit more loose, and when you go inside of them, they feel a lot more colder and cool and lightweight. And they're also great for making a quilt or a blanket. My summer sleeping bag, you can unzip it and it makes like a quilt or blanket. So if you don't want to go inside of it, you can just lay it out, and if you feel cold, you can go under the thing. I think that's basically all. And if you guys also want more tips and advice, you can drop a comment below. And oh wait, I forgot to talk about my backpack. When you go camping, you should have the proper backpack gear. So when you want to pack all your gear, you should have a big container or a big hiking backpack or even normal backpacks to keep all your things. So for me, when I go scout camping, I bring my backpacking backpack, which looks like this. There's multiple different types of backpacking backpacks, but the main two consist of internal frame and external frame. So my internal frame backpack is a lot more comfortable on my back, and I can take it on camping trips more because I can keep all the heavy items on my back and hike to our campsite without having to take it off multiple times. And when I say hiking, I also wanted to bring out this, my hiking stick. This hiking stick comes handy, and you should know how to use it properly and take care of it. Don't just throw it around flailessly and let it get damaged. You should take good care of it. And your backpack matters a lot because it takes care of your back as well as your gear. Your backpack should be big enough to fit all of your gear, so make sure you buy the right size and type of backpack. An external frame backpack is a lot less weight on your back, so if you're going backpacking or a long hike, I would recommend that. And when it comes to the actual trip, if you're going on a hike or if you're in a scout camp and you have to do activities around the camp, you should bring a day pack. My day pack is pretty small and it's lightweight, and it can fit all of my essentials without having to stuff anything in. Day packs are used for all of your essentials that you might need around camp, as well as just normal everyday use. An extra I would also like to bring up is bringing a sleeping pad or things like that. My sleeping pad looks like this, and it unrolls into this. Now, of course, this you might not want to buy a sleeping pad, so I would also recommend that you could get a quilt or a blanket or a mattress, which would also feel nice. My sleeping pad didn't cost a lot, so if you think you would also want one, you can get that. And it helps a lot in the cold too. It separates your body from directly sleeping on the ground, so your body heat you don't lose your body heat and it goes to the floor. It creates a sort of like a barrier. So that's all, guys. I hope you liked my advice. If you have any more questions, always feel free to comment down below. And you can always search up tips online on what to pack. And if you're going camping soon, I hope this helped you out. Share some advice. Bye. Thank you for watching.